Allow me, for a moment, to take you back to 2017. 2017 was a common year starting on Sunday of the Gregorian calendar, the 2017th year of the Common Era and Anno Domini designations, the 17th year of the third millennium, and I am just reading off the Wikipedia page for 2017. I didn't even know he had those for years, holy shit. Times were simpler. Donald Trump had just assumed office. Nintendo released the first Nintendo Switch 2, rock a success. SpaceX fires the first reusable orbital class rocket for a second time, and it was years before the word Corona summoned memories of anything other than cracking open a cold one with the boys. Also, all this terrible shit happened. But if there's one thing that I think most people watching this video remember and miss, or like me, missed out on, more than anything else, it was the Warhammer 40,000 No Fear, a Warhammer 40,000 starter set. Yeah, it sounds stupid. Look, it's what the box fucking says that. What do you want me to do about it? A lot of people, myself included, may have been aware of Warhammer 40,000 for various reasons beforehand, but only really got onto the 40k battle wagon during the pandemic. People, like me, missed out on this era of Warhammer. Look, even the logo was different than what we have now. A lot of hobbyists see this these days, and I know all we can think about is aggressively copyright claiming videos and issuing takedown notices to fan artists who are making animations on YouTube for free, frequently and needlessly retconning existing lore for reasons driven more by societal constrictions rather than consistency and continuity, and of course, constant inflated price increases for very poorly defined and minimally justified reasons other than financial motivation, because in 1994, Games Workshop became a publicly traded company on the London Stock Exchange, causing a self-exponentiating spiral wherein the only real goal of management is now to ensure that line go up. However, there was a time before when we had this, when Warhammer stores were just called Games Workshops that you could actually play games in, when fan animations were common on YouTube but not scrubbed from public access or else jealously stolen away to a paid subscription platform, when main characters were reintroduced into the setting and actually got books, materials, and robust army ranges, when new models for your army didn't mean losing or invalidating your old ones, and a box release wasn't some fear of missing out cash grab that you're obligated to buy because the prices of all these units are going to only hike up further by the end of the next month. This was the era of the No Fear box set.
Taking a look at this bad boy right here.
Warhammer 40k starter set, No Fear.
No fear?
No fear.
The 8th edition starter kit, which probably introduced a veritable army of people into the vast verse of Warhammer 40k and the broader wargaming hobby. Now, I know what you're dying to ask me. How the f did you get that box in 2025? Well, I was browsing eBay and I just found it. Like, it was new in box from a vendor I like to look at from time to time called Chaos Orc Superstore on eBay. This isn't sponsored. With all the new bells and whistles you expect from a games vendor, but also a ton of throwback merchandise for some reason. On the date of recording this, I found a Leagues of Votann faction debut box from 9th edition, a Space Marine boarding patrol from the Arcs of Omen event, and the actual GOAT Start Collecting Guardsman box that did what no successive combat patrol has achieved by actually having a fucking tank in the army known predominantly for having tanks go figure. After shipping, this kit here was a paltry $253.78, which if you count all the models that come in it, it's actually about $371 worth of albeit more diverse multi-part equivalent modeling kits at today's GW prices at a savings of about $118. And that's before counting the extra materials in the box, what there is. Which to me only speaks to how good a set this was as far as value. Even long after its release and its inflation, I'm still saving money in some ways by purchasing this. If you were lucky enough to be in the hobby in 2017, this retailed for 60 British pounds recommended retail price. And while I couldn't find a dollar amount in the highest exchange rate of that year, that's about 81 US dollars, meaning that at the time there was likely not a better value Warhammer box around, period. And with two armies consisting of 31 miniatures at about $2.50 per model, it is highly unlikely we'll ever see something of this value come from Games Workshop ever again. And while that's a damn shame, and I can't fix that, I can certainly today ask that you might come with me and see what all the fuss was about with such a modest, simple box from a much simpler time. I think my favorite part about Warhammer starter boxes that sort of beats out their regular modeling kits is the cover. and the cover art. Not photographs or professionally painted figurines under studio lighting and doubtlessly doctored in post, but actual rendered art of an absolute brawl between the two Space Marine factions. These, the Sons of Ultramar, the noble Ultramarines battling their ancient traitor brethren, veterans of the Long War, the 14th Legion Death Guard, sons of Mortarion, chosen apostles of Nurgle, and blight upon all mortal men, living or otherwise. The pastel tones beautifully capture so much detail, the harsh lighting playing on the power armor and the flash of the bolt rifle illuminating the Plague Marine, or how decrepit and corroded their battleplate has truly become, in stark contrast to the freshly painted and well-maintained armor of the Sons of Guilliman. It's a sight to see on a box, and even with no knowledge of this setting, I would stop to look at this on a shelf any day. On the back, you can of course see how well the heavy metal team at GW rendered these in their miniature renditions. While the Gravis Captain and Lord of Contagion are no longer units exclusive to this kit, the ones entombed within are unique sculpts and poses, and in some cases rather sought after by those who have since entered the hobby without the opportunity to see one of these new on sprue, and today I'm excited to show you. I've always found it charming how even back then there's no plastic envelope or even tape over the steel of these boxes. It continues as a practice today for Warhammer starter boxes. Just raw cardboard with a thumb tab and it's open. And of course, the first novelty you may notice, but you don't see too much of anymore after you remove the various accessories on top, is that this isn't some simple gray plastic. This is dyed injection molded sprues color-coded to each side. And while the box contains several master sprues wherein figures are scattered in pieces alongside other models from different units, the two armies themselves are segregated in a way in which if you were to go in half and half with a friend, it would be easy to pull your sprues out and part ways. The jumble of parts on every sprue for each army, however, is coincidentally why, while most of these units have seen full multi-part kits, the Poxwalker item which you can buy to this day are off the exact same sprue as that which lies in this box. And it has a couple random Death Guard parts, meaning you'll still find this half of a Plague Marine on shelves as the last surviving evidence that this box ever existed. But that's hardly as interesting as the rest of these parts. The sculpting on some of these Plague Marines especially is phenomenal and hasn't been seen on this level up until this point. Death Guard 8 in 8th edition. In 2017 alone, they got a new Typhus, the Bloat Drone, 2 different Terminator kits, one of the single best looking armor pieces in that of the Plague Burst Crawler, and foremost above all else, Mortarion himself. Their Primarch and only the 3rd ever Primarch to return to the setting in plastic. The small warband represented in the No Fear box are no slouch either, with 5 Plague Marines, a fetid Bloat Drone as armored support, 10 Poxwalkers to act as cannon fodder, and of course the still coveted Lord of Contagion, a heretic armored in Terminator armor with one of the coolest melee armaments you could possibly want for your main guy, and instant burners with a dope pyrotechnic effect going on. They weren't the only ones winning in this box though. The Space Marines got a showing of the first of the all-new Primaris line, the newly gene-forged warriors, further enhanced beyond any measure of standard Space Marines throughout 10 millennium of labor by the Genhancers and Archmagos Dominus of Mars, a 5-man team of intercessors, the new line of infantry of the Astartes, another 5 Hellblasters, new weapons specialists, and 3 Inceptor heavy 3 Inceptor heavy drop shock troopers with hull honk and thruster packs and atmospheric reentry equipment. These are very much the first look the broader audience got at what we now know to be the new, improved, if not somewhat controversial aesthetic that Space Marines evolved into for a time. And then of course, there's the Gravis Armored Captain, which I've always wanted ever since I saw it in battle reports, but it would be another 4 years before a multi-part kit outside of this box exclusive would hit shelves in 2021. So if you wanted the chunky Primaris leader, there was a very real length of time where you were generally either willing to pay way too much on eBay or, like me, shit the f out of luck. The manual itself is actually very hefty. It's a whole ass book. It's got a setting primer for the story up until this point, build and paint instructions, and of course, model showcases to get you interested in buying yet more plastic. There's also a fold-out paper game mat and the same clear plexi ruler they've been sticking in every box since I don't know when, as well as was this exclusive No Fear transfer sheet, which is nothing exceptional and completely useless to me, as I myself am not a son of Ultramar, and you are not getting anything other than the 13th Legion here. Though I'd like how they were helpfully labeling what decals go on what models, and that's a nice touch. I wish more boxes did this. And whether or not you think that this box was worth a $2,500 may be up for debate, but that's not actually what I paid. See, at the time Space Marine 2 had come out, and my favorite coworker was interested after playing in tabletop Warhammer. I don't need another 14 Space Marines, but the hobby needs more people like my coworker who love the universe and love the lore and think painting miniatures are dope. So we did a box break. He wanted the Death Guard and I the Space Marines. Am I jealous of his Lord of Contagion? Yeah, fuck. But now that I have half a box, a veritable army of Astartes just lying around, that's where we arrive at the crux of this video. Every October is Orktober, where Warhammer YouTubers inevitably paint a shit ton of orcs, and it's all about painting your pile of shame and going through all the stuff that you haven't finished and yada yada yada. And I have to be honest, fuck the orcs. I'm a Warhammer player. I'm not some Xeno-loving greenskin sympathizer. I hate the toothy fungoid fuckers as much as the next emperor-loving imperial citizen would. And as an honest, hardworking Space Marine player who spends edition after edition not getting nearly enough model releases, I'm tired of not personally having my own month. I have far too many unpainted battle brothers, too many scions and warriors of the emperor yet to see the tabletop, much less the outside of their boxes. I'm declaring this month a crusade against gray. Well, okay, these sprues are blue, but normally it's gray. Forget Orktober. Belay buying new overpriced Games Workshop releases regardless of how good they look when I haven't painted what I have. It's November, and throughout the duration of this month, I will be releasing a series of posts, videos, and even YouTube shorts all about how I'm going to paint these 14 Space Marines. Will I paint all of them within 30 days? Probably fucking not, but I can try. And if you can relate to me, and if you can be brave like the chosen sons of the Emperor, then I pray that you too can follow along as we go through what will, in my mind, forever be No Fear November. For as the father of the Imperium once spoke, like clay I shall mold them, in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, with the mightiest guns they will be armed. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that no foe can best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear. If there is one thing that stops me from painting many of my miniatures, it is that their expensive and relative rarity intimidates me into believing that I shall waste them with a paint scheme that fails to capture the wonderful sculpts and excellent details. I hope that if only for this month, I will have no fear, and that if you feel so inclined, you may watch along or even join me. I'll see you out there.